So I want to try and describe my medical history in the past 3 years. In the beginning of 2017, after 3 colonoscopy tests, it was unclear and uncertain whether I have a malignant tumor in my large intestine or some kind of unclear benign growth there. Benign. Thank you, Mary. After gastroenterological consultations and some biopsy tests, I was told there is nothing to worry about. I have no cancerous tumor. I might have an intestinal inflammation, but nothing to be concerned about. As advised, an annual follow-up would be enough. Just to be cautious, my wife and I decided to have another expert's opinion, and so 3 months later, on April 2017, we went to a gastrology expert. His medical opinion was the same as the others. At the end of the meeting, by the door, before leaving happily the doctor's clinic, my wife Mary mentioned, by the way, that I lost about 6 kilos in the last months. The doctor asked us immediately to sit back on our seats. He urged us to book a CT test urgently, and so we did. The results of the CT, which I took 2 days later, were given on the spot, saying very clearly that I have a neuroendocrine tumor in the passage between the large intestine and the small one. On May 17, 2017, I had a surgery to remove the tumor. In the course of the surgery, a few very small hypodens spots were detected in the liver and the ileum, being suspected as secondary to the major. As said, the main tumor was removed and many biopsies were taken. The biopsy results show Ki67 to be 7%, and diagnosis was that I have a grade 2 neuroendocrine cancer. After traumatic surgery and long 17 days of hospitalization due to infection complications, Mary and I faced a new era of chaos, confusion, helplessness. We were bombarded and overwhelmed by endless information, million confusing facts, and questions we haven't had an answer for. We didn't have any information about 5-HIAA or chromogranin A levels, or what is Ki67. As far as carcinoid syndrome symptoms, I suffered from severe diarrhea, stomach pain from time to time, weight loss and exhaustion. After weeks of hardships, disappointments and investigations, Lady of Luck knocked our door and entered as a good fairy. Dr. Simona Glasberg entered our lives. And we knew from the first time we met that I'm in good hands. Our first meeting with Dr. Glasberg was on August 2017. Uncertainty, chaos, and confusion disappeared. Everything was under control. Everything changed. From our first meeting, we learned that Dr. Glasberg is not only attentive to the patient, but also very sensitive to the caregiver. At that first meeting on August 2017, Dr. Glasberg instructed me to start one sandostatin injection, 30 milligram LAR, every 28 days. Further instructions for 3 months later was gallium-68, PET-CT, blood tests, including chromogranin A, and 24 hours urine collection for 5-HIAA. November 2017 test results for the gallium-68 PET-CT shown increased uptake on both liver loops by known metastasis, by lymph node inside the abdomen, and by a tiny L5 vertebra lesion. Second visit at Dr. Glasberg's office was on December 2017. I described my weariness in the last 2 months, my low energy and diarrhea. The last HIAA5 results was 6.3, lowered from previous tests, and so chromogranin A decreased from 313 to 130. Dr. Glasberg decided to increase frequency of the sandostatin to 1 shot every 21 days. Our next meeting was set for 5 months later, after having another set of tests, again gallium-68 PET, blood test, and urine collection. Results on May 2018, PET-CT, no change from the previous one. 5-HIAA stable at 7.9, overall a stable disease. I continue taking the same dosage of sandostatin every 21 days. I still complain about low energy and even worsened diarrhea. I kept going to the toilet about 7 to 8 times a day. I take as often as needed 2 Tasectan, which is over-the-counter medicine, to ease the inconvenience. It helped a little. I was still on the same dosage and same frequency of sandostatin shots. Dr. Glasber suggested Creon tablets as an additional treatment. I started to take them 3 times a day, 3 capsules of 25,000 units each. Another meeting with Dr. Glasberg was set for 6 months later on April 2019. I was still suffering from weariness, air, and 6-7 times a day visiting the toilet. I also lost 1.5 kilos. Gallium-68 PET-CT increased uptake by the known lesion. However, markers increased. Chromogranin A increased to 399.6 and HIAA5 to 11.7. The meaning is that the disease had advanced and worsened. Dr. Glasberg decided to increase the sandostatin dosage to 60 milligram every 28 days. However, chromogranin A kept going up and reached 444, and so did the 5-HIAA 15.4. At the end of October 2019, gallium-68 PET-CT confirmed tumor progression together with increased chromogranin A to 471. 5-HIAA 20.4. Disease was worsening by all parameters. This medical deterioration brought Dr. Glasberg to recommend start of PRRT treatment, still continuing 2 sandostatin shots every 28 days. At that time, she also suggested taking Xarmello tablets 3 times a day, 250 milligram each. This was supposed to decrease the 5-HIAA levels and non-stop diarrhea. The heart condition as checked was normal, no signs of carcinoid involvement. On everyday life, I was still suffering from exhaustion, going to the toilet 7-8 times a day, and the weight lost about 2-3 kilos also contributed to this feeling of exhaustion. The first round of PRRT took place in Hadassah, Jerusalem on December 2019. The following scan pointed a good reception of the given dosage in the liver and recommended continuing the PRRT treatments. Recovery from the PRRT procedure was gradually, it was prolonged by a significant exhaustion. And then I learned again that not everything goes as planned. New Year's Eve 2020 welcomed us with a sharp pain in my upper stomach. I was hospitalized in Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv with a small bowel obstruction attached to the gastric tube and urine catheter, the whole spiel. What a way to celebrate New Year's Eve 2020. I was lucky enough though, because this small bowel obstruction was relieved after 72 hours of fasting, no surgical intervention. Dr. Glasberg was watching me from distance 24/7 while being in the hospital and after being released at home. In collaboration with her staff, a new diet was designed for me, first week of liquids only, and then soft food diet for a few weeks. This became my guideline diet from then on. Meanwhile, I stopped taking the Xarmello and the Creon, but continued the sandostatin. By now, I lost 3 more kilos. The PRRT was not continued as initially planned to get 3 more treatments. Blood tests and urine collection.
Rafi, one moment just.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem.
Please continue.
Blood tests and urine collection on March 2020, CGA increased to 651 and 5-HIAA was still high, 20.1. Gallium-68 PET-CT showed stable condition. And then came reached the corona times. At the end of March 2020, I had another episode of intestine obstruction, Same symptoms, very well-known, strong stomach pain, nausea, weariness. This time I decided to avoid hospital because of the corona situation, and indeed I overcame this episode within 48 hours. Total fast, no food, no water, some painkillers, and sure non-stop walking. Did the job. I was back on the guideline diet, meaning liquids for a few days, and then soft the diet for a couple of weeks. At that point, I was still avoiding taking Xarmello or Creon, being afraid from another obstruction. On a phone meeting, because of the corona situation, on April, Dr. Glasberg decided, because of the two intense obstructions, to discontinue the PRRT treatments. I did continue the Sandostatin 30 mg LAR, 2 shots every 28 days. Actually, the Sandostatin treatment went on continuously from 2017 and still does. I was even more careful about my diet, trying to prevent more obstruction episodes. As far as the carcinoid syndrome, I was still going 6 to 8 times a day to the toilet and still quite exhausted. At that point, Dr. Glasberg suggested starting again taking the Xarmello, but gradually, with only 250 milligram tablet a day, 1 tablet a day. And so I restarted to take Xarmello in the morning. And after a while, as I observed my body's tolerance, I added another tablet at lunchtime. I still take this dosage, 250 milligram twice a day. Due to my experience with the two unfortunate episodes that happens both in the evening, nighttime, I do not take any medication with supper. This has been ongoing for the last 6 months. Over these months, the diarrhea almost disappeared. The numbers of visits to the toilet changed and diminished, almost diminished, and I felt more energetic. Xarmello really works wonders on me. Last July, CGA decreased by 50% from 651 to 381. And the levels of the 5-HIAA from 20.1 to 10.8, also about 50% decrease. Gallium-68 scan proved stability. Currently, I want to point out a significant relief in conducting my everyday normal life. I gained about 2 kilos and my energy levels are much, much higher. I'm still watching carefully my nutrition, hoping to minimize further intestine obstructions episodes, but knowing, as Dr. Glasberg told me, I might suffer from it from time to time. As I had a month ago, again, I did overcome it, this obstruction, within 24 hours. So currently, the only reason for not maintaining my regular lifestyle is the coronavirus restrictions, and that makes me kind of happy. Concluding my story, I would like to re-emphasize the difference between how it all started 3 years ago, the frequent stomach pain, the constant diarrhea, the confusion of trial and error, the weariness. Today I know this carcinoid syndrome and neuroendocrine metastatic tumors are here to stay, and I live with it. This is where the gold triangle of patient, doctor, and caregiver manifests its valuable, important impact. As Dr. Glasberg puts it, there is no cure to this disease, but it can be turned into a condition and focus on quality of life rather than a cure. Thank you very much.